Interesting. It looks like it's 5 o'clock.
And it says,
Let's do this thing.
do
Marianne.
this thing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
All right.
We have some minutes.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the Monday, March 27th, the February 27th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You going to abstain?
You weren't here, Bill.
Okay.
I mean, you can vote yes if you read them and thought they were lovely and watched the video or something, but you were out.
I abstain.
And Neil is absent. Okay, the select board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m. Monday, March 27th, Monday, April 10th, and 24th. All meetings will be held upstairs in Town Hall and by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda, please notify Town Hall before noon the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. Other important meetings in March. Town elections tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Plymouth Elementary School. That is still on, despite all of the weather. That is still on. School will not be in session, so it will make parking a little bit easier, despite the snow. And then Wednesday, March 15th, will be town meeting. Also in the Plymouth Elementary School gym, and that is at 7 p.m. All right, let's go straight into town meeting discussion and handouts.
So I'll go through my town manager.
Oh, do you want to do the town manager's report?
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. First is Plymouth Police, Plymouth State University Police, and Fire Department had training today. The departments conducted 3 different areas of training, the first being instructed by Special Agent LaCour and Special Agent McDonald from the Drug Enforcement Agency. It was a short combat critical care course, which was designed to present a foundation of topics, concepts, principles, and skills specific to delivering emergency medical care for patients in a civil tactical environment, which also includes, as part of their 4-hour firearms and use of force training. The second was with the Plymouth Fire Department and was instructed by Captain Keller, who used to be a captain in the Plymouth Fire Department, now working for New Hampshire Fire Stands and Training, and Deputy Chief Pierce on learning door breaching and the use of new breaching equipment purchased through the grant from Mount Prospect Academy. The third area of training was room clearing, searches, and short scenarios with Deputy Chief Buffington, Sergeant Diamond, Sergeant Keeler, and Lieutenant Hamilton of Grafton County Sheriff's Office. I did go up to the training to observe it, and I will say it was well planned out and well executed. It met all the requirements of use of force training in which they are required to have every single year. So it was nice to see the collaboration between the agencies, and it was held at Belknap Hall, Plymouth State University. Next thing is Plymouth PD's children's program. Just announced on Facebook this evening that have you been caught doing something good for the children in the community? Caught Being Good coupon for an ice cream in partnership with our own M&M Scoops. So that will be kicking off here, I think, the 1st of April or right away.
Actually, right now, yeah.
And so if an officer is traveling throughout town or at the school and they find a child doing something good, they'll present them with a coupon and they'll be able to go to M&M Scoops and get themselves an ice cream.
Is there an age limit? Honestly.
You have to be caught doing something good, though. That's the key.
At school.
Yeah.
Recreation update, I have a program update that I will pass out to you. There's several items on the document that Lisa provided, and it really captured what they did during February vacation and all the programs and field trips that they took during that period. Campus Community Council meeting will be held here March 22nd at 5:15. Invitations were sent out. We've had really good response back, and the agenda has been developed and passed on to Ted and to Marlin at the university. Pemmy Baker Solid Waste Agreement. On March 3rd, I executed an extension to the current agreement that expires in April of 2023. The new agreement runs from May 2023 through April of 2027. There was no changes to the current agreement that was already in place. Town Hall sewer issue, and we've discussed this a few times with the odor that permeates out of the basement. And we've had 3 companies come in and all have come to the same conclusion. So I asked each of them for a cost estimate and quote, of which we had 3 quotes, and they ranged from $17,289 to $19,435, and the last one was $20,075. So I worked in conjunction with Jason Randall from Plymouth Village Water and Sewer. He was here during each inspection by the 3 companies. And we concur that Belmore Septic and Sewer Drainage, which Jason has done work with previously, who had the quote of $16,339. But there was a camera fee that Eastern Pipe had initiated with that. So that's the additional $950, which brings it to, if you look at each quote and you look at them equally representing that $950, the total cost would be $17,289, which we're recommending to go with Belmore Septic and Sewer. I have the purchase order here as well as the 3 quotes that are available. They're willing, Belmore was a company that was willing to try to do it on a weekend and a holiday, so we didn't have to close the town office down. There is a period of 8 to 10 hours that no water or sewage would be able to run through the pipes during that period of time.
When are they planning?
During a weekend or a holiday.
Gotcha.
So they can come in and get it done without closing the town office.
Great. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, before you move on, do you want a motion on that?
I was going to make a motion to accept the bid from Belmore Sewer and Drain
Yeah.
for the sum of 17,000, what was it?
289.
$289.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Correspondence from Cindy Warmington, Executive Council District 2. You recall she was here a couple weeks ago, and we talked about a number of issues, one of them being Tenny Mountain. And the good news is, I did receive a letter back from Commissioner Cass, and given this and the town's ongoing concerns, we will reduce the posted speed limit to 35 miles an hour as requested. With the new development in the area and more build-up character of this section of New Hampshire Route 25, I believe this is appropriate. So they will be lowering the speed limit out there from the period just prior to Hatch Plaza out to the traffic circle by last chair to 35 miles an hour.
That's fantastic.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Said that's fantastic.
Yes, and they're going to continue to monitor signage based on development, but I will write Commissioner Cass back tomorrow and thanking him and thanking Cindy, because I know she did go and meet with him personally and have that conversation. So I will take care of that tomorrow, but good news in regards to Tenny Mountain Highway.
Will we be putting out those signs that say speed limit? Okay, great.
Yes. Yeah, Alex will make the adjustments on that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I don't have a definite date. They talked about May 1st, but I will check with Commissioner Cass to see what that definite date's going to be.
That's great.
Public notice of town-owned real estate for sale and bid package. That was posted on February 21st. Today at noontime was the closing for the sealed bids. As of noontime today, we'd only received 1 bid, and I will have and ask you to open that at your March 27th meeting. Plymouth State University updates. I met with Tracy Claiborne, Vice President in Finance of Administration, on February 22nd to start discussions and set meeting dates for the Life Safety Services Agreement, which expires on June 30th. Also, I was able to meet with Marlon Collingwood with regards to a cluster project, and we need to select committee members for that. So, first question would be, who is going to participate in the Life Safety Services Agreement negotiations?
I could.
I'd prefer to do it because I've been doing it for past, I don't know, decade.
Yeah.
I would like to provide her back names and get some meeting dates set up for the first part of April.
Does that put you in an awkward position at all, or do you feel okay participating on that, Ted?
I feel okay.
Okay.
So,
Any objection to that, Mary Ann?
No, I'm fine with that.
Sounds like Ted and Bill.
Ted and Bill, perfect.
Bill and
Bill
Ted.
Ted
Bill
show.
and
Oh,
Ted. There was a real
waiting.
opportunity missed there. Yeah. I'm gonna regret that for the rest of the night.
And I would assume you'd want Ann and I in on those conversations and discussions.
Yes, yes. And if it feels like we should get a negotiator in, we should do that as well.
Yep. When I talked to the attorney, when I talked to the attorney, he said, go into the first meeting, see what the tone of the meeting is, and see if they're willing to negotiate. If not, let's pursue something differently, in a different avenue.
Sounds good.
Sense, yeah.
In regards to the cluster project, so the university cabinet did approve our cluster project for economic development and parking. And we need to provide them with a few names of who the community would like to sit on that cluster project. My initial thoughts is, I know you had a economic development committee in the past. I don't know if you want it to be that committee, or would you like to seek out other individuals from planning, zoning,
That economic
community, business?
development committee's so far past its life that I don't know I mean, it might be interesting to inform who we would involve, but I don't.
Yeah, I would definitely like to be involved. I'm curious, I struggled last time with who actually led, not just I, who led the project. There was some discussion on, or no discussion on, planning didn't want to own it, not own it, but at least, manage the meetings and follow up and things like that. So I'd be curious on how we look at that.
In my conversations with Marlene and understanding more about their cluster project philosophy at the university, is they would lead the project from an overall guidance on which direction they think we should move at, and providing us different options on how we should move forward with economic development and parking. But from a committee or from a commission perspective, I would think the planning board and zoning board would have mutual roles in moving that forward.
I agree.
I would agree too.
So I will speak with Joseph and get some representation from planning zoning. I know that Frank has put a considerable amount of time into looking at the downtown, but also other areas of town. I think Frank should be included in it, and any other names that you would provide. There's no size limit to what that community, what that committee can be. I think business needs to be represented. I think planning and zoning needs to be represented. I think the Board of Selectmen need to be represented.
We
and
have
the
a
community at
developer
large.
as well. I forget the gentleman's name. I'll look it up. I don't know if that makes sense or not. He certainly brought a good perspective on the process and what he'd like to see, but
Well,
Or
this
even
guy-
Mike.
Guy that owned Boulder Point.
yes.
Yeah.
What is him and his
And I was-
daughter?
Yeah, his daughter he and his daughter were both on it. And Sir Michael, for that matter.
Right, actually, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
So I will have Joseph bring that to the Planning and Zoning Board to put on their agendas to have representation at that. And then I'll have Frank, and I don't know, Mary Ann, if you
Yeah,
want
definitely,
to
I'd like
continue
to.
with that. And then if there's any business owners, and we can send a message out to see if anybody wants to be engaged. I know Patty Biederman had an interest in it. So I will round up some names, and when I come back on the 27th of March, I'll have some names for you
Great.
and put them in front of you.
Sounds good.
Welfare Department received 20 calls and was able to assist 9 individuals during the month of February. I will tell you, those that have dealt with Mary Ann have reached out and provided many compliments about Mary Ann and her delicate way of handling very difficult situations, which says a lot about how she takes the time to meet with them, counsel them, and provide them resources and options. And I've met with her a few times and fully understand the difficulties that she's up against. But some of the recipients of the aid that she provided did reach out and wanted us to know how well she handles those situations. Taxes, unpaid balances. So I'm in the process of researching back taxes with Ann and Linda Buffington that are prior to 2020. Ann and I will plan to have an agenda item for the Select Board meeting in May outlining the research and the options for the Select Board. Some of those options are creating a delinquent tax payment policy, which we currently don't have. Tax deed worksheet, which talks about the property. Is it a property that we want to take by tax deed, or is it something we should stay away from? A deed waiver and a written payment agreement, which is something we just barely put in place. So to give you an idea of where we are with back taxes, if we look at back taxes from 2014 to 2020, it's $121,076.87. If we look at the property taxes in total from 2014 to 2021, it's $262,816.43. And if we look at the first two bills for 2022, that's a total of $387,105.74 for a grand total of $654,413.34. So I think it's something we really need to look at from a financial management and responsibility practice. We have been lax in what we've done with regards to unpaid balances. I've met with Linda. Linda is totally on board with this process, and we will continue, Ann and I will continue to meet with her and come back to you in May with a proposed outline of what I just discussed.
That's great.
Town elections and town meeting, that was covered. Highland Street project, where we are today, is we had 2 responses to the RFQ that was sent out for the engineers. We will be interviewing those engineers on March 23rd next week. Myself and Joe, Plymouth Village Water and Sewer representation, to include, I believe, Jason Randall and Gary and Don John. So round response there for interviewing them and making sure we have the right engineering firm that will be doing the design for that piece. Downtown drainage project update, and I know that's on the top of people's minds, and it's been a whirlwind of events since getting the last bid on January 27th. What we know today is that Grenice and Sons Contracting will be awarded the contract when the bond is approved at town meeting. They do plan on having a full-time engineer on site, as well as HEB will have an engineer on site each day in order to help solve the everyday problems that may arise. They plan to have the town's drainage project mostly done this year, 2023, based on the size of the construction company and the workforce they have. Final paving and maybe final restoration, creating some seating, would likely be done in 2024. Permits, there's 2 permits that are needed for this project, a stormwater construction general permit and a New Hampshire DOT road opening permit. Grenice and HEB have started working on those now. Just a note, is an issue for the town is EDA won't disperse any funds until all permits are obtained. Project sign, Greenies has started working on the sign and hopes to have the sign in the ground before May 8th, which is the deadline from EDA to have the project started. March 10th, we talked and scheduled a pre-construction contract signing meeting, and that will take place in mid-April. In April 14th or sooner, HEB will complete notice of award documentation and send to the town for coordination with the contractor after EDA approval. Because none of this can be done until the bond is secured at town meeting on Wednesday night. April 18th or 19th, conduct a contract signing and pre-construction meeting, issuance of all documents with the exception of notice to proceed. And on April 24th and 25th, one of the two, HEB will assist with the issuance of the notice to proceed and contract is authorized to move forward. What my hope is that on the town website, under projects, there is a downtown drainage tab. We will post all information there. I did put together a further update today with June's assistance, really kind of summarizing for town meeting and the bond request. And we will get that posted up on the website, as well as if I can get some email addresses, I'm happy to blast these updates out as soon as we have them. And we'll continue to provide updates at every board meeting here moving forward.
I love it.
And that concludes my report.
It's really exciting that they'll be able to get the most of that work done in one season instead of two.
They're hoping to be, tentative conversations, they're hoping to be done in November.
Yeah, that would, I think, it's going to be unfortunate and awkward for all those South Main Street businesses, but not having to think this is going to be 2 summers worth of disruption, I think that's really preferable.
And I think your plan, we haven't nailed down what street will be started, but the hope is it will start after the university concludes. The students have moved out, start on Russell Street, down to Warren Street, the retention pond, and then South Main Street. So time-wise, I'm not sure, but we don't have that final notice to move forward, so we don't have that final plan in place right now.
When do you planning on meeting with the businesses and hearing their concerns? The project's been going on for a good 3 years now, or
Since
discussions
2020,
around it.
you're right, Mary.
Some questions have arose during those conversations. Parking, timing, will they be doing most of the work at night? All of those things that businesses have concerns about. Certainly like to revisit those.
I think after the notice to proceed is concluded, we will then hold the meetings.
Hold a hearing. Yeah. I think that makes a lot
Because
of sense.
I don't think I can provide, or the construction company or HEB can provide those.
There's just too many
articulated
uncertainties at
answers.
this exact moment, but.
Sure, and that's one of the
So
concerns.
the
I mean,
date- you're
you're
talking mid-April in terms of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard it in your discussions, but a lot of things were conveyed at the various meetings that, like I said, parking's a huge one of them. At the time, well, we're addressing it. I'm not sure we were able to do that. We know the limitations of parking. But certainly to make sure those concerns are reheard again and readdressed.
Nope, I totally agree, and I'm very sensitive to the businesses. I remember the first meetings in here where, maybe we weren't as forthright as we could be, but I will assure you that any information that I have will be conveyed. My door is always open for questions, concerns, or comments, telephone call, but we will continuously update the businesses, the residents, and the university on the process of this project.
Great.
I
Thanks,
assure
Scott.
you that. I have done some research with regards to Guinea, and they just did a huge project in Dover, downtown. And I spoke with the police department there. I spoke with the city manager, Mike Joyle, and he said I couldn't have asked for anything better to have taken place. he said, we had a tough time finding a construction company to do that project. And Guinesi came in and did it one fell swoop. And they had traffic control, they had parking, of course, different scenario than what we have here. But he said they dotted the i's and crossed the t's. And I did go to the pre-construction meeting that Plymouth Village Water and Sewer had with Guinesi, because they'll be doing the North Main Street, Old North Main Street, Bridge Street, Green Street project. And I've got to say, I was very impressed with the answers that they gave to the fire department, the police department, and the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer in New Hampshire DOT that was at that meeting, and how they handle the process as they move through.
Great.
That's what I know now.
Right.
Hopefully I'll know more going forward, and I know you have great concerns with regards to it, and I will keep you in the loop as well as all the other businesses as soon as I have information.
That's all I ask.
On that note, if there's any public comment on this or anything from the town manager's report, it's a good pause moment.
As long as we're informed as we go, there's just a lot of discussion of might not happen, might happen, and, being tax season for every business in town right now, we'd kind of like to know where we stand going into a summer. Are we gonna have a busy summer? Are we gonna have to save all our money and, kind of think of our employees also? Coming into summer, we have 40 employees that are sticking with you. Are they gonna stick with you, or are they gonna all get out of town kind of thing, because they can go elsewhere, being in the restaurant industry?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we should know Wednesday night whether this is moving forward or not, so.
Thank you.
And like I said, I will assure that I will be communicating, and you'll know the latest that I have. Just a couple other things, Zach, that I wanted to just mention. We talked about the Tenny Mountain, we talked about the cluster project and the LSSA. With regards to town meeting and the budget, I didn't know if the selectmen had any questions, concerns at this point.
I don't know if we have any questions. I don't have any questions. I have plenty of concerns, but
The one thing I'll mention with regards to the warrant, I did receive an email from Grace Garvey today. She is proposing to make an amendment on the floor with regards to the warrant article for the solar array. And what she will be making amendment on from the floor is adding the wording, as long as the 30% direct payment from the Inflation Reduction Act is able to be secured by the town. So, as I advised her, I had consulted with Ann with regards to how we wanted to handle this, and I did speak with Attorney Radigan, and it can be made from the floor as long as she has it written up and able to hand off to the moderator in consideration of the amended article.
and we'll be able to know if we're going to get that money before we have to proceed with construction.
I don't know the answer to that.
I just don't want it to put us in a
think,
catch-22 situation.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
think it's like, if we don't get that money, then we probably wouldn't go forward.
But we may not be able to apply for that money until we start the project. I don't know how that
It's my
works.
understanding when I read what it is that is being proposed is that she will just add the words with the understanding that we get a 30%. And basically, if we don't get that grant, we don't build this equipment.
Right.
Yep.
But we don't know when that money will be available, or even, I don't know how to apply for it yet. Maybe the Energy Commission does, but
I doubt certain they do. I
you
think
don't
they-
either, no.
No.
I think they're working with Barrington Power to fully understand how they apply for that and how they would receive it. That's my understanding.
Okay.
I am prepared to talk about any questions with the capital improvement plan. I'm prepared to talk about downtown drainage project. And as of last Friday, put together the year-to-date expenditures and revenues. We're in really good shape right now. 34.6% of the budget is remaining, so we're in good shape with that. Warrant articles, I would imagine that when Bob reads the article, one of the board members will make a motion.
I mean, historically, they've been moved from the floor. We haven't
Okay.
even needed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
That's an engaged enough group that usually we see
have-
moved along pretty quick.
You know, I have my document that I'll read at the beginning of the meeting. I know Bob's gonna,
How long is that roughly, you think?
5 minutes.
Okay, good.
5 or 10 minutes at the most.
Most, yeah, that's what I was thinking. With 28 articles or however many we've got, we don't want it to go too long or
No.
we'll lose,
I just-
lose the crowd. 30, I guess.
Right. I just want them to know that due diligence has been taken in the development of this budget. And when you look at the initial request from department heads of over $14 million, and the budget now is $12,546,000, there was a reduction of $1.8 million through the process of the board, the budget committee, the department heads, having some tough conversations, but we've been able to cut that back to that amount.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know, you know, the warrant articles are the warrant articles, and there is a lot of money there, but I think everybody's done their job to bring it to where it needs to be.
And you're all set on the veterans' tax credits as well, Scott? You have that information?
Right.
Okay, yep.
And those are the first couple articles.
Yeah, 8, 9.
Yeah.
So you want the moderator to direct any of these questions to you, pretty much?
And to me, and then if a board member wants to take it, I'm absolutely fine with that. If it's something with regards to specifics of a department, I would refer them to the department head, especially to speak on the additional police officer, the dispatcher, and the firefighter. And the police vehicle, the fire vehicle, I think should come specifically from the department head on how they can substantiate their needs and justifications.
And they all have handouts for these things already anyway, so.
There will be handouts here. There'll be the handouts for the police officer, the dispatcher, the firefighter, the downtown drainage project, and the solar array will be there.
It's extremely typical for someone to stand up and ask what roads we're paving, and often to say, I live on XYZ road, and when the heck is that going to get paved? Since we have that plan, it would be good either for Joe or you or me, one of the three of us, to have that information, because we have it, right? But to have it at hand,
Right.
so that when we're asked that question, it's not fumbling around. We
Jack,
actually.
if you look at page, and you may just want to, it's like 61, all the way through 65 is the actual plan.
Oh, this is, right, so this is the capital
So if you
improvement.
wanted
Perfect, so we can direct them right to this page number and speak to it right from here.
61 through 65, yes.
64 is roads specifically.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I think the other thing, Zach, I would caution us going too in-depth on that until Joe and Steve had done a full evaluation of the road surface management study that we got back
Yep,
from Lake Street.
and I think we can say that, right, that this was the first draft capital improvement plan, that we've laid out our first thought, but since then, we also have a study, and in the plan that we do this year, you know, changes to this will occur based on the results of that study. I think that's fine.
Okay.
But I think directing them to say, there's a plan, it's printed, everyone has it, right? As opposed to past years saying, oh, well, maybe we'll do this road, maybe we'll do that road. We can say, this is the current plan.
Right.
Plans change, but this is the current plan.
I agree.
And you have it in your hand, right? Here's the current plan, and it's in your hand.
Flip to page 64.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other-
What's that again?
64.
61 through 64.
Is the whole
Yeah,
capital
but
improvement
64
plan.
is where the,
Is roads specifically, but yeah.
What about the nonprofit agencies, Scott? Are you prepared to answer questions about the direction that the board was given last year? You're ready for that?
With regards to the nonprofit
Yes.
tax exempt,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay,
And I've had conversations with many of those organizations that have called and said, what is our funding level?
yeah.
And I've had that conversation with them.
But you may get a few people off the floor
They were last time.
Yeah,
Lots of people.
It was a hot topic.
Is that something that you have in your introductory?
I believe you had it in your introductory.
I do, it's not completely spelt out like that, but it does talk about the reduction.
So it talks about the fact that you've been out there working with the nonprofits to address the thing that was asked about last time.
Not specifically, but I can address that.
I was just thinking that it would be the
Might as well be
opportunity.
explicit.
Yeah. Because that was the closing theme of the meeting.
And in fact, they had a motion on the floor directing us to do that work.
And I think that the conversation is the meetings that I've had, but also our participation in Senate Bill 84 and having the Senate establish a commission in search of pilot agreements with nonprofits. Bill testified, I wrote a letter of testimony, so we're doing the things that we feel that we can
Yeah.
through law.
And if we stayed right out the beginning, maybe it'll just head off the questions.
We can also say that we extended the LSSA with the university for 1 year so that we could be better prepared, and we're about to go into negotiations again on that.
And I have that in there as, in my conclusion,
Perfect.
is that piece.
Excellent.
Anything else that could be raised? You've got a good handle on the veterans tax credit. Those are administrative changes effectively, but
And then page 28 of the town report just talks about your capital reserve accounts. Now, that is as of June 30th, 2022, but there are times occasionally people say how much is in there. That's what was there as of then.
it's 20 what, 28?
28.
28, yep.
All department heads will be present. Don't have anybody who's got a conflict or anything.
As far as I know, I sent out an email last Friday to all the department heads saying that we were talking about the budget tonight. If they had any concerns or questions, to email me. I talked to Chief Morrison a little bit about it, and going through how we would facilitate the process. Other than that, I did not have any responses back that, I have responses back that they all would be there.
Great. All right. Do we have any handouts from the board that are going out? Anything from us or just from the departments?
Just from the departments. And June had put together the one for the downtown drainage.
The detailed budget will be probably the only handout that really comes from the board, and that'll be available at the meeting as well.
And that'll be like the line item, like the spreadsheet line. It's not this MS 60. Okay. Good. Anything else to prep for town meeting?
Everybody will be there?
Yep.
Or the
Hope so.
two of, do we have Neil, all three of you working the
I'm scheduled
I'm
to be
8 to 3.
8 to 3?
around 3 to whenever.
3 to whenever, okay.
We don't know about Neil yet because of the weather, right?
And
I
I'll
think he was
be
scheduled, but
checking in people from 8 to 11. Because Josie was short, a couple people, so.
Okay. I'll be standing outside in the snow.
you can count the school ballots at the end of the night if you wanted to.
I can, yes, I can help. And water sewer,
Yep.
I'll be around, so I'll help with the ones that I can touch. With that, I think we're done with election stuff and town meeting stuff. All of the town manager report section, on to appointments. So we have an appointment request for, ooh, I'm going to get this last name
Melissa
wrong.
Eulery.
Lurie.
Eulery, thank you.
Are you sure? Because there's a Ullery on my committee. and,
Eulery that was my mom's name, so I know.
This guy was insulted when they said his name was, Ullery.
All right, Melissa can write in to correct us on
right.
Eulery or Ullery. But she writes, Dear Select Board and Conservation Commission, I'm writing this letter to express my intent to become a full board member of the Conservation Commission. Throughout my 2 years as an alternate, I have been fortunate to participate in many activities in support of protecting our natural habitat. Additionally, by attending the planning board meetings monthly as one of the representatives, I have gained a better understanding of my community and how I can contribute positively. It is through these experiences that I'm inspired to be more involved in my service on the Conservation Commission. It was for these reasons I would like to express my sincere interest in continuing my participation on the Conservation Commission as a full board member. I would welcome any questions. Thank you for your time.
All right, I'll make a motion that we appoint Melissa to the full member of the Conservation Commission.
Second.
I assume we have an opening. I always assume someone has checked this before they go in front of us.
I assume so.
I assume so, too.
Okay. Comfortable with that assumption? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That. And then we also have one for John Christ. I wanted to advise, this is from Joseph, community planner. I wanted to advise that at last night's planning board meeting, the board nominated John to serve as an LRPC commissioner along with Bill and Zach. Please let me know if there's anything additional you need from me in regards to this. So we've got the one for John. We voted Bill last time.
So I'll make a motion that we appoint John Christ as an LRPC commissioner.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Any opposed?
Bring your pencil.
You could hold off on the very last one.
I intended to.
Okay, thank you.
Hold
At least until
We'll move
tomorrow
on the
night.
next one. Yeah.
2 more weeks before that agenda item's legit, so defer. And that ends. Can't sign that one, Mary Ann.
I heard that, yet still went through with it.
I appreciate the confidence. That's it for main business. On to committee reports. And we'll start with water and sewer.
I have nothing as I had to attend, or chose to attend the, oh no, we haven't had one. I was talking about the
Okay.
other, whatchamacallit, the chamber.
The report with Neil, I have no report. I didn't attend. Anybody else?
I watched the meeting.
Anything of note?
They had a good meeting with Barrett Consulting. They spent about 2 hours with her. Each committee member gave their concerns from their perspective. She also talked about the interviews that were conducted on Wednesday and Thursday. Her comments to the planning board was she's done this in many, many towns and has never seen the engagement and the participation that the town of Plymouth has.
That's great.
So I think she interviewed, if I'm not mistaken, close to 30 people over those 3 days.
Wow.
And spent 2 hours with the planning board on Thursday night with the same theme and concerns that she heard over those 2 days. And she met with individuals again on Friday. And then post-meetings, there'll be a meeting April 6th at Plymouth Elementary School that's open to the public to attend with any concerns, comments. And then there'll be a follow-up meeting on June 6th to conclude the interviews, the meetings, the public input, and then she will start drafting her reports and meeting with the HOP committee on a bi-weekly basis, I think. But that was the entire meeting last Thursday night, was meeting with Judy.
Gotcha. Sounds like that's moving along nicely. Campus Community Council, we
A meeting We're meeting next week on the 22nd at 5:15 PM right here.
Next week, Plymouth Elementary School, Ted and I did a little swaparoo. Elementary school, the only item on the agenda was that they approved the calendar as proposed. It's a pretty normal calendar, and they're not doing anything strange there. And then they discussed and led into the district meeting. I think they only had 4 warrant articles, and all passed, I think, unanimously. So, no. Everything that's written in their warrant articles is what happened.
7 minutes?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about right.
I spent longer before and after talking with people than the actual event. High school.
High school, well, they started out pretty much with the principal's report. They talked, this would have been last week now. They had 1 act plays going on that week and a Friday semi-formal. They also talked about their culinary arts program, participated in an event down in Concord at the Marriott. I understand they did well. They're bringing back Cultural Arts Night, and that's supposed to be on March 16th, so this is an action-packed week. They also are doing Honor Society inductions on the 14th, which is tomorrow. Maybe not.
No, 15th now.
Okay, 15th now. They also made mention of a jazz ensemble performance at the State House on the 8th that occurred at 1:30. Did you
Saw
see that?
the tail end of that, actually. I was in committee meeting, but that was pretty cool.
Did you say they moved the honors?
Society inductions to
Because
Wednesday.
there's no
Wednesday?
school tomorrow.
Do you know what time they moved it to?
I can find, it was either 5:30 or 6:30, I'll find out.
It's just really awkward if they've moved an event to compete with town meeting.
Well, so my daughter's getting inducted, and it was like, okay, what was the timing? But I'm pretty sure the 7 o'clock for town meeting is fine. It should be
You
done
think,
by then.
you think that, I mean, if it's at 6:30, it's gonna be a little tight.
Let's see, I'm trying to look for anything that is probably more than just internal business that people would be interested in. There was a big discussion about a public comment policy that basically, I'm not really sure I 100% understood it, but they did decide to move that discussion to their summer retreat.
So, because my wife attends the school board meetings, she mentioned to me that they were moving things to a summer retreat, which made me question, how is the school board doing a summer retreat? Because that would be a meeting in non-public. Right?
Yes.
I mean, if we were to do a retreat like
The
that, we
majority of the
couldn't-
board
couldn't do that.
meeting for discussions.
Yeah.
Public comment
And
and,
if there's decisions being made.
What's
right.
as another board in town, what's the best way for us to advise them to check that out without?
We could definitely reach out to the chairman of that board, or Scott could reach out to Carla
Yeah,
and ask
Kyla.
about that. Kyla,
Kyla,
sorry.
yeah.
Um,
Might be worth checking on.
Yep.
I would hate for them to find themselves in a bind.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. They also are doing some renovations and work like that. It's basically this is with their regular replacement CIP, HVAC systems, bathroom redesign. They were talking really quick, so it's hard to gather this stuff quickly. But there's a large contingent of that work that's going on this summer. It's within the money they've already got allocated. There was some additional funds that they're going to be pulling out of, I forget what terms they use, but it's going to be coming over from carryover. So,
Encumbrance,
yeah, so,
encumbrance or capital reserves.
yeah, they did, I don't think they said that specifically, but, so there should be no net new impact on taxes. This is a $1.9 million plus $460K for this particular work. It's part of, I guess, phase 2 for their renovations. Maybe first meeting, the next one is going to be on, I guess, April 4th. At the privilege of the floor, one question was asked about follow-up on questions that the public asks. In other words, a lot of times, as I understand it, things are brought up, they hear it, and then you never hear about it again, so you don't know whether they took an action on it or not. So that was a question that was brought up, and they sought clarification on what why nothing occurs afterwards. And that's something that they seem to agree to take into consideration. It's hard to tell whether or not until we come to the next.
Experience.
Yeah, so it's time to come to the next meeting. And that pretty much wrapped up what the discussion was.
Any talk of Bruce Parsons retiring, or?
There was some mention, well, there was mention at the beginning that this
Okay.
is his last year, so.
Right. But no, what do they do and the process and how they intend? Or,
I don't
Just
recall.
curious.
They,
Okay.
they may have talked about that in more depth in non-public,
right, okay,
but obviously I wasn't there for that.
sure.
Okay. No Conservation Commission update, unless, Bill, you don't go to Conservation Commission, do you?
No, rarely.
Capital Improvement still paused, Advisory Budget Committee paused, LRPC,
Okay, so there's an executive committee, happened on the 8th, and I can just gloss over some of these things, but, the LRPC is working with PSU on a composting project, which I don't really know anything more about. They're also looking, globally at tiny houses or affordable housing. They were talking about the Hewlett Center in Laconia, and I guess they use manufactured small houses from the Hewlett Center. Here's a HOP grant, $25K, to update ordinances, which I should have taken more clear notes on. The TAC committee, which their focus is now on bike paths and more bike interest, as opposed to simply just state roads. And they were talking about Senate Bill 44, and that's it's same bill that was put into the House, and it was essentially that if a town has water and sewer, then they have to accept 4 units. If someone wants to chop up like a very large Victorian house into units, you shall chop it up into 4 units if it's accommodated. It's basically allowing any town with water and sewer to go ahead and put 1, 2, 3, or 4 units in a house. And came before the not the Senate bill, but the House bill came before the House, and it was defeated, and I voted against it. I figured they'd want to go against the majority of the town of Plymouth, even though we accommodate 1s, 2s, and 3s. There was basically it was like a plea to take a look at your master plans, look at where in the community you can do like a higher density, and where different areas shall be protected, or like historic districts or something, to make sure that they remain, so you just don't develop everything in the downtown. RSA 674, over half the zones need to accept affordable housing. I'm not sure about that one, sorry about that. Shaheen is putting forward a very large amount of HUD funding on the implementation of housing. It's going to be a March 27th meeting. Invest New Hampshire will be there with Northern Borders, and basically focus on a lot of money being used for water and sewer for those towns that don't have it. There was a comment on some schools are being turned into housing because school systems are losing students. So some schools are being closed down to renovate into housing units. Interesting.
Why would they lose students?
People aren't having kids nowadays.
Population overall.
And so you
Boomer effect?
open up a school to make it housing, and then now you've got kids. Places not.
And then you got to increase the size of the school.
It's a vicious cycle. So, there's a housing appeals board that's looking at case-by-case instances of, I guess, people ignoring the need to accommodate people, looking for housing. I don't know. And one thing that I made Joseph aware of is that the Plymouth North Main Street project was killed. It was originally prioritized as number 2 in the three TAC projects that were going forward, and DOT was going to fund 1 and 2, and there was some discrepancy in the amount of money, even though our engineers said it was going to be like around $4 million or $4,300,000, something like that. The engineer for DOT or TAC or whatever found that it was also going to be, about that. But then there was some, is it UER, whatever it is, which is another, basically they said it was going to be $7 million, which would put it out of the ballpark, so they just neglected to fund it, and they moved it to number 3. Has that been searched, or is this pretty much dead in the water, and that's it?
Joseph has reached out to Lakes Region Planning Commission because, in my opinion, I don't think it was a very fair game played. And I think the town should have been involved in that conversation when they made that change. And when they first created that and picked number 1 and number 2, the one who went into number 2 after this last meeting did not have all of their information complete when the determinations were made.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden, they're in number 2, we're in number 3, which Joseph has reached out and trying to find a further explanation of how come the town wasn't involved in that conversation and meeting.
Exactly. And in fact, it was an item that was brought up to the executive board at that meeting to vote against Plymouth and move them to number 3 with no real background. So hopefully, on the next meeting, we might be able to reconsider it. And they kind of railroaded it through because the TAC originally was going to meet in April, which would have been adequate time to, come out with the recommendations, and they canceled that meeting. So, anyway. Maybe we haven't been paying our dues. No, I'm only kidding. But anyway,
Our dues are paid.
I'd like to be able to reconsider that decision. And we're talking about the fact that TAC gets $6 million in regional allocation. So all the projects that they go forward with generally, totals about $6 million for our region. And DOT gets $300 million in total allocation from US DOT, and it just seems kind of our region is not getting adequately funded. But that's pretty much it. I made some comments about the solar array. The other interesting thing too is that there's like a round table. Everyone describes what they've been doing. Molten Borough said that they're coming out, they've introduced this place called Hub, and it's basically safety, so it's fire, police, and community. And I think this is the one that had two swimming pools in it, and it's been reintroduced for the past maybe 8 years or something like that, and it generally fails because it's like extremely expensive, and even though
Hate to
molten,
have to increase that $14 tax rate that they've got.
that's a good point. Yeah,
9.
they're 9.
It was 14 a year ago, anyway.
So
Why is ours so?
it seems like joint safety community centers were
It's on a lake.
It's true.
being explored by at least a couple of towns, but anyway, that's pretty much it.
Sounds like a busy
It was
Packed
kind of
meeting.
interesting, yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Still waiting on a date from Lisa. I'll have to nag.
Okay. Parking.
So a bit of a struggle trying to get someone in to actually hook up the solar lights out on Green Street. So Scott put out a message to about 3 electricians. Scott passed on a name. I called him today and left a message. So hopefully we'll be able to bring them out. We've got a little schematic that shows where we want the lights to go. And so hopefully hear back from him shortly this week sometime. Be able to schedule a walkthrough. I get some folks talking to me about Main Street parking, especially along the 30 minutes, in front of the businesses, that people they don't even know that it's 30 minutes, especially as they get down past Cafe Monte Alto all the way down towards the Rotary. So Steve from Highway is going to restripe and put 30-minute in that as well. So hopefully that'll help a bit. And then also I don't know how they do it now. I don't know how Toby does it now as far as monitoring who's been parking for 30 minutes or not. I know Frank used to be able to chalk. They can't chalk anymore. Alex has passed that on to Toby. I'm not quite sure how he monitors it. I don't know how you
Take
know.
a picture or something. I know they do take pictures, but that's only a
And what do
violation.
you do? Kind of fumble through as you go back along? I know
Go
it's all
back and
digital.
you're like, I think I've
Your
seen this
phone.
car
Right.
before. Let me.
I think if it's done through Park Mobile,
Yeah.
he can bring it up to see.
But the 30 minutes
part
isn't
is
done by
free.
Park Mobile.
No, but plates are put in.
As it goes along.
I will check with that.
Okay, just curious,
Yeah,
really.
no, that's how it's monitored.
Yeah, once again, complaints about students parking there definitely for more than 30 minutes. So we kind of give it the benefit that maybe it wasn't well marked. Kind of put that in the striping. That's it.
Perlac.
We had a meeting. It was completely remote. We had a couple of people that were somewhat ill. So, I don't really recall the specifics about it, though, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Nothing on economic development. Energy Commission.
There is a warrant article for a solar array.
Heard about that.
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit.
And they're, the way it looks is that the funding sources are so grand that we'll have an immediate payback after the second year.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
Anything else?
Nope.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, this is the one I didn't attend. I went to the housing questionnaire, and as Scott said, she was really impressed by the number of participants. She doesn't get that high. Obviously concerned about, cost living here and taxes was a very common theme she told us.
No surprise there.
About, some woman from Penny Baker came. She loves Plymouth, but she can't afford to live in Plymouth, and lives in Camden, and it's a good discussion around that too. But It was interesting.
I thought of the other guy that was on the, Brian Young.
Yes, very good. Very good. Yeah,
Think about things that eventually comes, you know.
I better you then. I didn't come up with anything.
Before I go to public comments, fields at the school, they Parks and Rec or are they school?
Maintains them? Parks maintains them.
Maintains them, schedules them,
The school schedules them, is my
has
understanding.
liability for people using them?
The school would have the liability.
Okay, so it's school on all that stuff.
Their property survey.
Okay. Okay. I've concern about the inconsistency of which clubs they're allowing to use their off hours versus clubs that they're telling can't use the services. And so I just wanted to know who. Do I go to Lisa or do I go to the school? I'll go to the school.
Yeah, it's the school that schedules.
Okay.
And the school's liability if something was to occur either on their property or on their fields.
All right. So with that, we go to public comments.
I have no comment, except it was very good meeting.
Thanks, Frank.
What did he say?
No
That
comment.
it was a good meeting. Nothing but compliments from Frank tonight. We appreciate.
Well, on that note,
We do have a.
I was going to make.
See it highlighted.
Yeah, I see it highlighted, so I'll make a motion that we go into non-public in accordance with RSA 91-A:3, comma 2, number A, letter A, personnel.
I'll second.
Marianne, your vote.
Aye.
Zach, aye. Bill,
Aye.
Ted.
Aye.
Well, that will take us to non-public.